any engineer needs to know a lot of what product design is, product management is.
Identify person A with AI versus person B with AI. Who is more fit?
You do not have a good mentorship program. Do not hire interns.
You have to work with Claude in your professional life, so you better start working with Claude in your daily life.
It's 2026 and there's anxiety all around campus placements. How to get a job? Is software engineering a good option? Is non-tech a good option for me? अब तो शर्मा जी के बच्चे को भी नहीं पता है कि करना क्या है. So we get a lot of questions from students, from our relatives, from our second degree connections that what do we do to build a career? What do we do to get into this company? What do we do to start? And we thought we'll take those questions, record our answers and serve them directly to you. And that's why we have this podcast. Welcome to Karna Kya Hai. Let's start with the most important question. Is it harder to get a job as a software engineer as opposed to 3 years ago?
Is it harder to get a job now? Yes, it's I think a lot harder. And the reasons might not be what you think it is. It's not कि आपको जानना है AI क्या है or you need to understand exactly how these systems work. But it's just the curriculum that we were trained with and the curriculum that the market expects today, that has changed. So it is, I won't even say it has changed completely because my reading is that hiring is always lagging behind the state of the art in the development shops, right? So people who are actually building the tools, they are moving very rapidly, but hiring happens a little bit, with maybe a year's worth of delay. So the fact that AI needs to be used or AI needs to be evaluated has not caught up on the hiring side yet. So that has, I think, been my sense, and it reflects on how we also try to select people to, join our companies. What is your sense of whether it has changed or not?
Yeah, like short answer, certainly yes. It is harder to get a job as a software engineer, especially if you are just starting out as a fresher.
Okay.
So there are two major reasons to it. One is people are still absorbing how the AI tools are going to change the requirements for the people who are young engineers. And the second is, for some people, it is easier to get a job because if you have, say, a habit of building things even before you started applying for jobs. So if you are someone who is already building, it's now easier for you to ship it and then showcase.
But that has not changed over the years, right? People who were practitioners even 3 years ago would find it easier to get a job because they have experience when they're hitting the market.
But more people, like let's say if I was restricted by understanding of either deployment or understanding of adding authentication layer or something like that, those parts are much easier for me to show my builder jobs because I don't have to know the syntax of more complicated stuff. I know them at a superficial level. So that's where I was coming from, that if let's say you are a builder and you have a habit of building even before you are applying or doing an internship. So it's easier for them because of the AI tools. People are still figuring out what kind of talent do they need, if there is a need at all, and that would be the most anxiety-provoking question. Do we still need SDE ones? My answer to that is definitely yes, but that could be a general discourse. I think, like you were saying, that hiring always happens with a lag. So what's gonna happen is people are soon going to realize that they still need inflow of people coming into the workforce who are learning how to build complicated systems.
Right.
And AI is just a tool that they will be using, and AI cannot be given the entire responsibility to think and then build and then deploy.
Makes sense.
Right. So
I think it's also a good sidebar. So some of the things that you're talking about, right? This is not so computer science and engineering or any discipline of engineering that you are a part of versus the art and craft of doing software engineering. There is some overlap, but there's a lot of differences as well. And people who are, like I said, practitioners or you described as builders, will always find it easier to get a job because they have been doing the software engineering side a lot more.
Correct.
So I think the bottom line is always before you look for a job, look for things to do that will not only take a lot of your time and give you enjoyment. It will also teach you about how the world works or how the systems are written. And I think for you and me both, that was part of our journeys. It was an amazing amount of fun to just build, and I think the love for building is always going to be an advantage in any field.
How are you hiring fresh talent, and what is your expectation from them? So, like, how are you evaluating them? Has that changed?
I think that is the strongest change that I've seen, at least in my company. So instead of doing interviews where we try to assess a specific skill or ये वाला algorithm कब पढ़ा था, we chuck that all out of the window. And schools that are cooperative about having long-term internships, 3 to 6 months, we go for candidates from there and have them over at our office. They're working as regular employees, and we just figure out, can they accomplish the targets that we would expect them to when they join, right? So it is, the internship is becoming for us a way of doing the interview, and I think that is fascinating because it removes the burden of having an interview process where I have it all sorted out, right? Because it is frankly impossible to, in my mind right now, to identify person A with AI versus person B with AI, who is more fit. But all I'm trying to do when we are doing a long-term internship is, you know what, this guy is fun to work with. He understands what we are saying. He or she is able to appreciate the nuances of this career, and will find a good place. So that methodology change, I think, is what is the starkest change for me in hiring. How about you? Do you have a different process now for hiring?
Certainly, yes. And I also have, because we work with a lot of these IT giants like Cognizant, Capgemini, Wipro. We have an inside view into how evaluations work at large scale as well. Both I am seeing a change in those companies and our own companies. To your point, internships are great, right? My problem with internships has always been that you get interns only for like 2 or 3 months, and that time duration is slightly low to be able to gauge meaningful output. And then you get all of them at the same time during the summers.
Right.
I would propose that there should be 6 months of mandatory internship in the industry, and this should go on, like there should be a batch which is going in the first 6 months of the year, and then a batch in the next 6 months. I think BITS is a college which does this really well.
And I was really envious of their internship structure when I was going for internships. Because the quality of work that we would get as 3-month interns versus the ones that they would get over 6-month interns was very different. And I won't say that they were able to get more PPOs, but they were. So.
Right. So I think for people who are really great at a job, you can see that in a couple of weeks, a month is good. But for someone who is absorbing and is improving their skill sets during the internship, maybe 2 months are a very small duration of time where you learn and then apply and then showcase something.
Oh, I get your point. I think so. On that front, I don't mean to say that we are assessing the impact that the intern is trying to have. Right. It is more important to understand whether they have been able to grow as an engineer over time. Because these days, with Claude and Codex and whatever, it is rather hard to be a bad engineer, right? So pretty much all ideas are good ideas if you get a rubber stamp from these tools. So the idea is that, are you able to do more than an engineer would? I often think about how roles have started collapsing, and that's probably something we can talk about in detail also. An engineer used to be some parts product manager. I think that has been dialed up way much right now, because the execution is so easy, and which is why I was surprised to hear you say about talk about 3 months not being enough, because the amount of things that at least interns that we have are able to ship in 3 months is amazing, right? I can't imagine having been able to do that or even being close to that when I was their age. So in 3 months we are able to get a lot of projects out, and over each project we are able to see how their capacity is changing in some sense, right? So for example, somebody would, in the first project, the depth of questions they would ask versus the second one, that's a clear signal that they have now understood it. Right? He or she can become a really good part of the team. So that's all we're trying to assess, not the impact, because that depends on the project that they are offered.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody might get a deep, long project, while somebody else might get short projects that add a lot more value. So how do you assess the two?
Yeah, so that's my message to a lot of companies who hire interns, that if you do not have a good mentorship program, do not hire interns. They are not going to. It's not going to be a very productive strategy for you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because intern without a mentor is just a deer caught in headlights.
Yeah.
And they would not don't know what to do. And my message to the listeners is that find an internship in a company where you know there is a good mentorship program, because you just getting a remote internship somehow is not going to add a lot of value. Coming back to the question of how we are evaluating freshers and fresh talent, and this is also what we are seeing with all Superset partners who is hiring at scale, is instead of evaluating skills via a proxy, or rather proxy of a proxy of a proxy. I'll just explain that. Let's say you are hiring a tech support person who has to look at a ticket, understand it, and then reply to the customer. A good proxy of that is the person able to do logical reasoning and then understand the ticket and then look at the SOP, look at some logs and so on and so forth, and then understand what's happening, and then can they write good English, right, or correct English. And then if I have to evaluate people at scale, what I would do is I would take an MCQ test, which is quantitative aptitude, and then it would give me some proxy of their logical reasoning. And then I would do an NLP based solution for understanding their English competence, right? Their communication skills.
You think that's how people are doing it now, or that's how you would do it?
No, that's how people have been doing it for the last decade.
Okay.
Right? So now the evaluation at scale is always a proxy of a proxy of a proxy.
Got it.
So what's happening is, like at least till today, people are doing long MCQ tests. Companies are doing like written English tests. There are so many assessment evaluators, right, which have these tools baked into their product. And what happens is, it's a good proxy, but it's also a very bad predictor of whether you will be able to perform well at your job.
Right.
Now that I'm seeing a big change in, right? What's happening is people are making candidates do the job during the interview. Right? So for an engineer, it would be, instead of doing DSA questions, I would be like, you have Claude Code with you. Why don't you build this particular app for me? Like, let's say I am making a movie booking app. Right? And if you have an hour to show me how you will build, let's say, a clone of Book My Show, build it. And what I am capturing as signals is what prompts you make. How do you answer the question that the coding agent answers? How are you prioritizing? Like, if you just give a prompt of clone Book My Show, it will make a very basic clone. But then how do you prioritize which features are going to be more important? And that's when your the point of developers also being product managers comes in, right? I think today any engineer who is either already a software engineer or trying to become one needs to know a lot of what product design is, product management is, right? They might not have to like go to customers and talk about it, but they need to ask. They need to have the skill of asking.
They'll not get requirements anymore. They have to figure it out, right?
They have to figure it out. And now what we are doing and what I see other companies do in their evaluation process is make them do the stuff that they are actually going to do 3 months later, instead of a proxy of a proxy.
That's very interesting, because it makes it seem like the, let's say I'm a recruiter, a company who's recruiting 10 years back versus now. Earlier, I used to think of knowledge as what I assess competence on. Does this person know DSA kind of a thing on an algorithm? But now we're looking at the process. That knowledge is just there in Claude or whatever we are using. How are you able to extract it out? And that becomes the process. So what is your prompt? How much do you do in each session? How much do you interpret? How much do you stop the process and debug it, figure it out? Because that is what you're going to be doing more days than not, right? And it has always bothered me that every DSA that I studied, I have not used in my professional capacity. But at the same time, there are things that are absolutely essential, but we are unable to assess out. So I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Just practicing the thing that you want to do will tell you what an appropriate process is going to be, right? You have to work with Claude in your professional life, so you better start working with Claude in your daily life.